from your arm. This will then be sent to a hospital lab for analysis. And what we can do with our technology is give you the opportunity that anyone can do a simple finger prick test and in about 30 seconds have their blood count measurements in front of them. So this means that for the first time, a blood count is accessible in a research setting, in an emergency scenario, or even at home. So blood counts are one of the most commonly requested blood tests, and they're really important for a number of different conditions and diseases. And we're particularly interested in developing our technology for people with anemia, polycythemia, or those undergoing chemotherapy. So that's a kind of quick introduction of what we do, but today I'm mainly going to talk about our processes and how we got to being this science startup. So I'm going to talk about how Eva Diagnostics really puts design and science together at the core of everything that they do. For us, design and science are not separate disciplines. The two are very much interrelated. So we use design to balance out science and engineering and use it in a way that we can make our technology accessible in the most friendly way. We believe that having empathy in healthcare and technology development is really important, and this can be empathy for the clinician that's working in a very high-pressured scenario, or it can be empathy for the patient who only encounters healthcare in stressful, unhappy, and confusing moments. So first, I think there's two misconceptions to address about what design is. And as I said, yes, the first one is really that design and science are siloed disciplines. I really hope that I'm going to show you that they are interrelated. And the second is the misconception that design is purely an aesthetic process, or that design is a means of creating a shell around a piece of technology. I want to show you that if you encompass design at the core of what you're doing, that it can actually be so much more. Design is not limited to just the aesthetics of something. Design is actually how something works. So you can see on the left here, or your right, this is my co-founder, Dr. Toby Basie-Fisher. He's spent many, many hours working very hard in the lab at Imperial College. And he was asking the question, how can we make blood analysis easier? So he had many, many experimental setups and different analysis methods, mostly revolving around using microwave technology to analyse blood properties. And he had really good results, but he hadn't hit upon the simple and sustainable solution that he was hoping for. So fortunately, he then had another breakthrough, came up with a different analysis method, and that is the one that we've largely based our technology on today. So Toby had proven the principles of his analysis method and his discovery. But then the question was, what was the best way to pursue this? And what was the best way to bring it into the real world so that it could have the impact and improvement to healthcare that he desired? And this is where Toby and I teamed together. So we left the lab, and we left the science in the lab for a moment. We went out into the real world, and we began asking questions of people that we hoped would one day be using our technology. So ideas were sketched and models were made, and these helped us in our conversations to start imagining what experience the science could create. We continued to talk to patients and clinicians and develop quite a deep understanding of what the problems they had at the moment were and how current systems didn't satisfy them. So we were able to see through these conversations how we might be able to apply our technology and what experience we could create and how our technology would make these people feel. So we had quite a clear vision of what we wanted to achieve. And I'd say at this point we made the transition to being a tech company, a tech startup. But we really needed some more skill sets on board to be able to take it any further. So we were joined by data and software engineers, hardware engineers. We continued with the research and development, and we brought in the design team as well. So we have a multidisciplinary team, but what's important, I think, most is that we collaborate really deeply. So creating a health tech product, everything is really interlinked, and there's the obvious connections, such as how switches and mechanisms are related to hardware schematics, or how software is integrated with the user interface design. But there's also the less obvious ones, which come down to really the core of the science and design fusing together. So this is such that what you don't necessarily anticipate is that the methods of data analysis and the measurement software that we use are completely related to the user interaction of the whole product. So the small decisions that we make in the team every day are really directing the direction of the company. We find it really important to include everyone in any strategic decision making that we do. So here you can see our CEO, our head of R&D and our designer debating our branding strategy at a workshop that we held recently. So the most important point that I would like to make is that neither design nor science take precedence. Rather, both science and design can push and pull each other to really disrupt and create something new. We believe that analytical thinking is just as important in design as creativity is in science. And we've used this thinking to create a kind of closed loop development process. And through a lot of trial and error, this has now proven to be our most efficient way of iterating through prototypes. And a good example of where design and science really fuse for us is on our cuvette design. So the micro interactions of how someone collects a drop of blood has a huge impact on the data analysis. And so we designed the cuvette to be ergonomic and intuitive, but these features also make it a really powerful tool for technical analysis and blood measurement. So to get to this point, we went through many physical iterations of the design of the cuvette, and at each stage there's a lot of feeding back and forth and collaboration between design and tech. And so no ergonomic or intuitive design was signed off on until it had been passed through electronic rigs and tested for repeatability and accuracy. And in the other direction, any technical advances were not signed off on until they passed the usability test. And this is true in everything we do, so not just the cuvette, but in the full product and even in our R&D stage. It's only when design, engineering and science are happy that we will progress a prototype to the next stage or to manufacture. And at significant stages throughout our development process, we then also find it really important to give our prototypes back to the users, the ones that we started talking to 2 years ago at the conception of our idea. And this is a way for us to validate the design and the technology and to really be sure that we have created an honest and easy to use piece of health. Running these kind of user workshops also gives us some insight, which is useful for our marketing and business plan. So it helps us to refine our USPs. It also helps us to gain some market traction. So, in summary, I hope I've shown some of the benefits of encompassing design at the core of your development process. And I hope that I've shown some advantages over other ways that you could do it, which would be like to build an alpha prototype, a beta prototype, and then only bring design in prior to shipping. I think that having a human-centered design approach to your scientific endeavour can bring a lot of value to the development process. I think it can align you with a better product market fit and ultimately gives you a faster route to market. So yesterday was another big day for Eva Diagnostics. We moved out of Imperial College into our first office and expanded the team once again. So we're now joined by individuals with expertise in quality assurance and sales and marketing. And I'll add here that we're also currently looking to hire another software and electronics engineer. If anyone is interested, that's my email. And yeah, and as we move forward with Eva Diagnostics and our technology, I can say that we will be doing so with science and design at the core of our company. Thank you very much.